Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a brand new week at school. And a special good morning to everybody in school, but all of you children who maybe are at home at the moment for lots of different reasons and doing your learning from home. So, good morning to all of the Northowram Primary School family. And it's Monday for you today, but for me it's Sunday. I'm recording this video from home, and it's a special Sunday and a special week this week because today is Remembrance Sunday, and I've just been watching, some of you might have as well, the live broadcast from London, and the Queen was there and all the royal family and all the politicians, and they were there for a special reason because on Remembrance Sunday everybody stops at 11 a.m. for 2 minutes silence to think about and to remember all of the servicemen and women and animals too who have been part of any war that's involved our country. And we remember this week the service that they did for us so that we could live good and free lives. And on Wednesday this week, which is actually the 11th of November, we will all be stopping at 11 o'clock to hold a 2 minute silence to remember those people and what they did for us and their families who are still here, even if they're not. So we're going to be thinking about remembering this week. And, you know, you're all still quite young, but even now you can probably, if I asked you what's the earliest thing you can remember after my assembly, perhaps you could have a discussion about that with your teachers. And one person I think who must have more than most people to remember when he thinks about his life is somebody very special that you will have heard of because he's been on the news a lot. And it's Captain Sir Tom Moore. And he was the gentleman. He's 100 years old. And if you remember, he inspired us all so much during the first lockdown because he decided he was going to do like a sponsored walk to raise money for the NHS and people who are looking after people, particularly during the coronavirus. And I've had a new book delivered this week. And this is the book, 100 Steps. And it tells the story of Sir Tom Moore's life. So all of his 100 years, going back to when he was a little boy and what inspired him really to be the person that he turned out to be, and what inspired him to become somebody who has inspired so many of us. So I thought it'd be really lovely this week for Remembrance Week, thinking about Remembrance Sunday, and also because we're still in that kind of lockdown period, aren't we? To just think about feeling optimistic and thinking about how things will get better. So this week we're going to read all about the story of Sir Tom Moore, and it's called 100 Steps. So here we go. On a bright April morning, a 99-year-old man stood outside his house and held on to his walking frame. His name was Captain Tom Moore, and he had pledged to walk 100 lengths of his garden in time for his 100th birthday, to raise money for the doctors and nurses risking their lives to save others. Tom took a deep breath. He knew this wasn't going to be easy, but he told himself one of the many important things he'd learned during his long life. The first step is always the hardest, but unless you take that first step, you'll never finish. What an important message. There he is, standing in his garden, about to start his sponsored walk. Imagine doing that when you're 99 years old. Let's go back to when Tom was a child. And he was actually born really close to Northowram. Tom grew up in a small town called Keighley in Yorkshire. His dad was a builder and built houses, and his mum was a teacher, like me. And even though most boys avoided the kitchen in those days, Tom loved spending hours cooking with his mum. Enormous cakes with coloured icing, thick crusted pies, and fancy 3-course meals. She taught him that it didn't matter who you were, you can do and be anything that you want. What an important message he learned from his mom. You can do and be anything you want. It's one of the things that Tom's mum taught him. When he wasn't in the kitchen, Tom was outside playing with his dog Billy. They went everywhere together, on adventures in the garden and exploring the town, but most of all they loved running, wild and free on the Yorkshire moors. Billy was named after Tom's favourite uncle who raced motorbikes and taught Tom how to ride. At night, Tom would lie in bed remembering the roar of the engine and the feeling of freedom he felt as the wheels spun beneath him. One day, he said to himself, I shall have a motorbike of my own. And there's Tom as a young boy, just like you are now, young boy or a girl, enjoying his freedom on the Yorkshire moors with his dog, Billy. Let's see what happens next. Wonder what Tom was like at school. I can tell you. Tom worked hard at school. In lessons, he was quiet and well behaved, and he got on very well with his teachers and his classmates. But he wasn't above bending the rules from time to time. When he was 12, Tom bought his first motorbike and he rode it everywhere he could. He even hid it in the school grounds so that he could look at it at lunchtime. There he is, look, he's taken his motorbike to school, hidden it in the bushes, just so that he could have another look at it at lunchtime. And Tom's motorbike wasn't the only thing that he would sneak into school. Can you see who else he used to sneak in his backpack? Goodness me, Tom really loved his dog, I think. As Tom grew older, he spent more and more time riding his motorbike. He and Billy would spend whole days racing across the moors, grinning from ear to ear as the wind whipped through their hair and the sun bounced brightly off the motorbike. And Tom learned that every day could be an adventure. Every day can be an adventure. That's so true. There's Tom. Where's Billy? Oh, there he is, look, racing just behind. Now, in 1939, some of you will know how important that date is. I wonder if anyone can remember. I expect somebody got it. When Tom was 19, war was declared. It's the Second World War. It was a very worrying time, but Tom wanted to serve his country. And so the next year, he signed up as an officer in the army. Seagulls wheeled overhead as he waved goodbye to his family to go far away to fight. Gosh, it's difficult for us to remember, to imagine, isn't it? He was just a young man. He had to wave goodbye to his family to go off to serve and fight in the war. Tom's ship was bound for a country called Burma in Southeast Asia. It made many stops along the way, from the bustling, dusty harbour in Freetown, the capital city of Sierra Leone, to the awe-inspiring Table Mountain in Cape Town, South Africa. It took many weeks to reach Burma, and Tom would never forget the people he met or the incredible things he saw throughout the journey. Life in Burma took some time to get used to, especially the enormous bugs and creepy crawlies that lived in the jungle, including a spider as big as Tom's hand. Tom made use of his love of engines and his talent for fixing things by teaching the troops how to ride and fix motorbikes and then tanks. So there's Tom in the jungle. Can you see the spider? Helping people there to fix their engines on various things. War could be scary, and Tom missed his family, but he and his new friends made sure to have fun too. They would take holidays around the country and even travel to try to see Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. But it was cloudy, so all they could see was fog. And on special occasions, there were parties and concerts, and once the famous singer Vera Lynn made the long journey from Britain to visit the troops and to sing for them. And Dame Vera Lynn, she's passed away quite recently, but she sang one of the most famous wartime songs, We'll Meet Again, that, again, I think we heard quite a lot on the radios during lockdown. Tom could hardly believe that he was seeing her sing with his own eyes. And I know we'll meet again some sunny day. There she is. And it must have been so important for the young men all over the world to have somebody from Britain to come and sing them such optimistic and heartwarming songs. We'll just read the very next bit and then we'll leave the rest for tomorrow. So even though Tom, along with the rest of the world, was pleased when the war finally ended and he could go home, he missed his friends and the amazing sights he'd seen. And day after day back home, Tom worked with his dad building houses, and at night he dreamed of the adventures he used to have. Tom wasn't ready to give up adventure though, and he rediscovered the wonderful feeling of freedom that he had always found riding motorbikes. He started to race in events called time trials, and he won race after race after race. Tom knew then that even when the sky seems full of dark grey clouds, the sun will shine again. Look, there he is, back from the war. And that's an important message, isn't it? That things will get better. It's a very foggy day today, but I know that the sun will shine again. So when we come back to the story tomorrow, we'll find out the next section of Tom's life as a young man. It's his family story, really, and when he met his wife and had his children. And all of these memories are part of who Tom is today. And he's one of the very few remaining veterans from the war who can still remember that time. And so he's very precious. And we need to be really respectful of that older generation who went through so much just so that we could live a good life. So we will be remember on Wednesday, we'll be having 2 minutes silence in the classrooms. And that's a time just to stop and just to think and try hard to imagine a little bit what it might have been like going off to fight in the First or Second World Wars or any other war that's happened since. It's hard for us as people that have never been in that, but it is really, really important that we do that and that we pay our respects. So have a respectful week overall, children. Be extra respectful to your friends and your teachers. I'll see you at the door, hopefully this morning and all this week, and I'll see you around school. So have a really good week, everybody, and I'll see you in assembly tomorrow. Bye for now.